Hi friends, I'm all rugged up. It's winter here in Australia. The sun's going down. It's a beautiful sunset. I don't know if you can see the clouds around here. Look at that. The sun and the water. And before the sunset, I wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about my week. It's been a bit of a doozy. And I share it because many other people go through the same thing too, and often it's things that people don't talk about. I'm talking about this path of personal growth and self-discovery, journeying within. It's a journey. Well, it has been for me anyway. There's many ways that we can do this work, as people say, the work. But the work is having the courage to face yourself and face your shadows and delve within, be shown, be curious, look at it and actually implement change, and integrate the ways you want to change in your life. It's been a wonderful journey for me. I mean, there's so many things I have changed in my life. There's so many ways I've changed. There's so many insights I've had that have so much awareness over areas of my life that I never used to. And it's wonderful. I love the depth of growth, and I love how deeply I know myself now as well. But on this path of growth, it's a process, it takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's like a muscle. It needs to be worked quite a fair bit before you see any results, before the muscle actually, begins to build that strength and retain the strength. And it's the same with, growing in our spirituality or growing mentally. It takes time to break out of old patterns and conditioned ways that we've been and thoughts, and it's why meditation has been so helpful and valuable. And I know a lot of people have their thoughts about meditation and what it is, and the amount of clients that Benny and I work with that say, I can't meditate, I just can't, I can't sit there and do that, and we understand and we get it. But it's a valuable tool for everyone. And meditation isn't just necessarily sitting in stillness. You can meditate in many ways. Playing sport is a type of meditation. There are many types of meditation. Anything that's taking you away from the constant stream of thinking and repetitive thoughts and programs is a meditation. The process of doing anything mindfully is meditation, right? But personally, my meditation practice of sitting down with myself and curiously just noticing what's going on for me in my world has been invaluable, and it's been a wonderful experience of growth. I can feel the change in myself. I can see the changes around me, like Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things around you change. And it's true. I have changed so much about myself internally, and it's brought me so much joy and love and presence and connection to community that I didn't know was there before. I didn't know that was available to me. So it's been wonderful. But it's been a process of integration, having to integrate the skills and the things that I've learnt into my everyday life, which, as I said, it's like building a muscle. You have to repetitively do it. It takes time. And so, of course, you're going to revert back. There's going to be moments where you behave in old ways, or old triggers happen, or challenges. Life challenges us. The challenges don't stop. We're in this dance of life. And it's the same, when it comes to triggers as well, like my partner, as much as I love him, we can be quite big triggers to each other because we've been together a long time, and there are old parts of us that remember, and I reckon there's parts of him, there's energies in him that know they can trigger me, and there's energies in me that know they can trigger old behaviors in him. And it's a pattern. It's a pattern of negativity that it's been felt, and I guess it's coming up for a bit of a hurrah. And talking of coming up for hurrahs, I had that experience this week, and it hit me by surprise. I was triggered, and I wasn't able to keep my center as I have been able to lately. Instead, I spiraled and I got really angry. Quite shocking, to be honest, because I haven't felt those feelings for a long time, and it seemed to just sort of come out of nowhere, and it hit me hard, really hard. And Benny, it can be quite confusing, if it's been a while months, even years even, since you've dipped down and you're feeling really quite centered and balanced, and then out of nowhere you sort of get hit with this darkness, and you behave in ways that you used to, and old patterns come up, and you feel these old feelings, and you can feel like you're going backwards, and it can be quite easy to kick yourself and feel bad about it. Reflecting on it today, I could feel these feelings of shame and blame wanting to come up around, the idea of the fact that that shouldn't happen anymore. You should be beyond this, Jenny. You shouldn't be dipping down like that, and surely you've been doing the work, and we're beyond like this. Like, I could feel those things wanting to come in, but that was just more of that same energy wanting to draw me back in. And so I parked it and I sat with myself, and I sat with it all, and I had to really just remind myself that this is all part of the journey, and that it's okay, and that we all go through this, and this is part of being human. And it's part of the integration process. We're not going to get it right all of the time, and there's always these kinks to be worked out. What I really wanted to talk about was this idea of being in balance and off balance, on balance and off balance, on balance and off balance. Because I managed to come back to center. It took a while, but luckily I have an amazing partner who knows how to support me. And I also know the tools that work for me. And I think that's a real big part of being on this journey of self-discovery, is knowing the tools that work for you, and tools that work for one person may not work for another. So you really have to, start to play around and get curious and try out the things that work for you, that can really help balance you. Nature is a big one for me. Playing music, being present with my children. There's many. Meditation, big one. It's about really knowing what works. I wanted to come on today to just share my story. Just to share that it happens to us all, and I've been doing this work on myself for many, many years, and it's still happening to me. I got to turn around here because this sky is just magnificent. So we just got to learn to have compassion for ourselves, like we would with our children, or with a child. Think about your inner child, the little you that's inside that needs that care from you. It doesn't need to be shamed and blamed. It's just that little cuddle and reminder that it's okay, and you can get back up again, because at the end of the day, this is life. It's an on balance, off balance journey. It's never just going to be all in balance, and it's never going to be all off balance. It's this dance between the two, and it's learning how to just steady that flow. I like to come back to the idea of learning to walk with this. Now, when we learnt to walk as little babies or toddlers, it didn't happen overnight. It took a while. It took, a bit of stumbling and being very off balance and falling and often bruising ourselves, big bruises sometimes, big falls, tears, all kinds of dramas. But we don't stop, do we? We keep going, we keep going, we keep trying. That little child, we wouldn't, look at them falling over constantly and say, get up. As Abraham Hicks says, get up, you little dummy. You wouldn't say that, we keep encouraging, and it's like, that's okay. You get back up and you try again. And it's the same with everything in life, with all the challenges and the hurdles that we're going through. It's about just, regaining that center and going again, on balance, off balance. And it's never going to always be on balance, and it's never going to always be off balance, but it is this process of on and off. And if we fast forward to, a child that's learnt to walk, or an adult, and we can walk well, if you look at somebody walking, it looks pretty balanced. When you look at it, it's sort of people glide along. You don't really see the on balance, off balance. But if you were to just slow down the process ever so slightly and really look closely, you would see that that process is still happening. You know, from one foot to the next foot, there is a moment where you are on one foot and you're making your way to the next foot. There's this sort of slightly off balance moment before the next step hits the ground and we're grounded, and you go to the next step. It's this on balance, off balance. I find it's really helpful to use this analogy because it's how we operate. You know, we are constantly going to be on balance and off balance, in flow and out of flow. So that is what we're doing here in this journey of self-discovery and self-growth as we learn to work with ourselves and look at ourselves and face ourselves. You know, it's about learning that we are going to get off center, and that's okay. In those times when we are off center, it helps to remind us what it feels like to be centered. You know, it's easy to get busy in life, and we've all got lives. There's things going on, and sometimes, you know, it's not balanced. And if we just keep trying, we just keep picking ourselves up, trying again, we get better at it. You know, it's building that muscle. It's building that muscle of being that version of ourselves that we want to be. And it just takes repetition, it takes time, and it takes stuffing up. It takes dipping down sometimes and going to that low place and going, that's right, I remember, I don't really want to go to that place. And so it's a wonderful, beautiful gift when it happens. You know, instead of shaming and blaming myself today, I allowed myself to use this as a really powerful reminder for where I want to be, and also the things that I need to do in my life to stay in that steady flow of on balance, off balance, on balance, off balance. And I was speaking to Benny, and, you know, he asked me, have you been doing your meditations? I hadn't been doing my meditations. You know, I had stopped my practice. I got busy, you know, school's back on and there's things happening and there's stresses in life and all of that. And I haven't been dancing. That's another big release for me, an energy mover. And I haven't gotten to that either. And I've just started a new exercise and eating regime, which is making me feel wonderful. But prior to that, for, you know, a lead up of a few months, my diet probably wasn't as good as it could have been. So again, no shame, no blame. It's just about recognizing it and learning how to work with yourself, and then picking yourself back up and trying again and trying again. It's about reminding ourselves that we're all on a journey here. You know, it's never going to be perfect, but as long as we just keep trying, and as long as we give ourselves that kindness and compassion and that love and that grace to be able to fall down and be okay with it. It's okay to dip down sometimes, and it's okay to not get it right all of the time. In fact, that's part of this experience. It's how we learn. We learn in making the mistakes. Integration is all about taking those tools that we've learnt work for us and implementing them into our daily life as best as possible. And for me, this dip was a really great reminder that I need to keep on top of that. You know, there's no excusing it for me either. I have to do that. Otherwise, I won't be able to show up as the best version of me. So, the sun has set on this beautiful river behind me. And I just wanted to send you some love in case you've been trying to integrate new ways of being in your world, and in case you've stumbled and fallen like me. Just remember, you're doing your best. I love that. To finish off the video, a very loud speedboat just went past and created a whole heap of ripples in the river behind me. Look at that. There we go. The ripples on the water say it all. You know, what once was calm and still is now been stirred up with life, and all the mud from the bottom will be moving around, it'll be dirty. After the ripples come the calm again. Off balance, on balance, off balance, on balance. It's the nature of this experience. Sending you so much love, blessings, gratitude, and may you find the calm stillness, the waters within you, in between the off balance moments too.